the walls and knock down the door. Knocked on the floor, death isn't an option. Stepped out of my coffin to start a war. Starving for the conflict, hell is promised. Break down the walls and knock down the door. Knocked on the floor, death isn't an option. Stepped out of my coffin to start a war. Starving for the conflict, hell is promised. A plague, it sits deep, the pain it kills me. Dead spirits living inside a guitar, the illuminated ones. Dark to rival the stars, art decided to fall. Hard to survive the fall. So we soak in the plague, the pain, cold in the brain, the cage. No one to save a face, frozen in pain is blank. No photos erased, awake to my lonesome. A notebook, a footnote, hope was thrown away. Grown was lonely, insane, my thoughts race like a locomotive train. Off the track, on a rap. Poison flow, decays, the ozone layers of sacrifice. Generous in blood, envious of what the melody becomes. From a memory to a menacing tendency among the devils of heaven. So let it conduct, dark energy erupts to death and blood. Break down the walls and knock down the door. Knocked on the floor, death isn't an option. Stepped out of my coffin to start a war. Starving for the conflict, hell is promised. Break down the walls and knock down the door. Knocked on the floor, death isn't an option. Stepped out of my coffin to start a war. Starving for the conflict, hell is promised. We bleed without tone in the monolith embers. An empire burns with the saga unending. Bottled attention, lost in vengeance. Apocalypse destined, so stop the pretending. The city dies a slow burn, you don't learn. There's no worth and no stars, it's so dark. Cupid's arrow pierced your own heart. Self-centered bread, dissension, it feels so wrong but so right. Snow light in the catacombs of hell. Turn the capital to the Alamo, rebel. Have to show respect, grab the passion from the soul past the known depths. No threat will rattle me. Distract from the cold intent, the world burns. A nose that don't grab the match and explode the rest. Gas to soak and drench in the flash. Your home is dead, fact of the road we went. Break down the walls and knock down the door. Knocked on the floor, death isn't an option. Stepped out of my coffin to start a war. Starving for the conflict, hell is promised. Break down the walls and knock down the door. Knocked on the floor, death isn't an option. Stepped out of my coffin to start